Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle something I know a lot of you think about: how to stop sounding like a textbook and start talking with real, natural confidence. We're going to climb what I call the fluency ladder and break down those tiny little shifts in language that make a huge difference. So, let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? You've put in the hours, you've studied the grammar, you know the vocabulary, but when you actually speak, it still comes out a little stiff, a bit robotic? Yeah, you are so not alone. It's that classic gap between knowing the rules and actually, using the language in a way that feels like you. So here's the framework we're going to use today. The fluency ladder. It's super simple. We'll take the same idea and see how it sounds at 3 different levels. You've got your A1 beginner, which is simple and direct. Then there's B1 intermediate, a bit more detailed, maybe a little formal. And then the C1 advanced level. That's where things get natural, idiomatic, and really expressive. And listen, the goal here isn't to just memorize a bunch of phrases. Nope. It's about cracking the code, decoding the patterns that make speech sound natural.
All right, so here's what's on the menu today. We're going to dive into everyday small talk. Then we'll tackle conversations at work. And finally, we'll look at how things sound at home. After all that, we'll pull it all together and really unlock the secrets to sounding fluent. Ready? Let's go.
Okay, let's dive right into our first section. We're starting with the absolute foundation of most interactions: small talk. This is where those little, subtle shifts from sounding like a textbook to sounding like a real person, this is where they really pop.
So, let's start with something super basic. Just checking in with a friend. You'd be surprised how much the way you phrase this one single question can totally change the vibe of the entire conversation.
Okay, so look at this. Are you okay? It's direct, gets the job done. Have you been keeping well? A little more formal, right? It covers a bit more time. But look at that C1 leap. How have you been holding up lately? That little phrase, holding up, that's the magic. It's an idiom that instantly injects empathy. It says, hey, I get that things might be tough. And that makes the question feel so much more real and caring.
All right, next up, the most universal small talk topic in the history of the world: the weather. But here's the thing to remember. The point isn't just to say something about the sky. It's about building a little connection with the other person. So the A1 phrase here, "it is a good day today," is just a statement, a fact. But notice the jump to B1 and C1. First, they both use a contraction, it's instead of it is. That right there immediately sounds more natural. But even more important is how they turn that statement into a question. They add, "isn't it?" or "don't you think?" And this is so crucial. You're not just talking at them anymore, you're inviting them to respond, you're starting a real conversation. And here's a perfect way to add some warmth. Instead of just a flat, "I see you again," think about this. Adding, "it's great to see you." Inject some real enthusiasm. And then that little casual add-on at the end, "been a while," it just makes the whole thing feel so much more personal and genuinely friendly. It's a small change with a big impact.
All right, section 2. Let's shift gears and take these ideas into the workplace. This is a setting where you want to sound not just competent, but also really collaborative. It's a tricky balance. So picture this: a super common situation at work. You need a report or file from a colleague. How you phrase that request can totally change how it lands. "Can you send me the report?" I mean, it's direct, but it can almost sound like a command, can it? "Could you" is definitely a step up, more polite. But the C1 version, this is next level. "Would you mind?" That immediately softens it. And the real genius part? When you get a second. That little phrase shows you respect that they're busy. And that simple acknowledgement of their time, that is the absolute key to collaborative language.
Okay, next scenario. You're in a meeting, you're running out of time, and you need to push a topic to the next discussion. How do you say that in a way that sounds efficient, but also, professional and not dismissive?
Let's discuss this. It's fine. It's functional. But check out the C1 phrase. Let's circle back to this. Circle back. By using a super common business idiom like that, you're sending a signal. You're showing that you're comfortable, that you're fluent in that specific environment. It's like a linguistic shortcut that says, "I get it, I belong here." Here's another fantastic example of using expressive language at work. You could just say, I have a tight deadline. Okay, clear enough. But think about saying, I'm racing against the clock. See? It paints a picture. It's this vivid idiom that communicates the stress and the urgency so much better, and honestly, it makes you more relatable. All right, let's bring this all back home, literally. For our third section, we're looking at language in a casual domestic setting. And here you'll find the language often gets even more idiomatic and direct. Let's take a super simple, everyday situation. You need help with a chore. We'll use doing the dishes as our example. The big leap here is definitely to C1. Can you give me a hand? This phrase is an absolute cornerstone of informal, everyday English. It just sounds so friendly and cooperative. Way more natural than the more literal, can you help me? Trust me, you'll hear this one all the time. Okay, how about this one? The fridge is starting to look a little bare. A fluent speaker doesn't just state the problem. They frame it as a shared task we need to tackle together. And this is brilliant because it shows another key principle. It's about providing context. See, instead of just saying we need to go shopping, the advanced speaker explains why. We're running low on groceries. And then using a great dynamic verb like restock, it gives the reason and the solution all in one super short, natural phrase. Love that. Okay, so we've looked at small talk, we've been to the office, we've been at home. Now let's zoom out. What are the common threads here? What are the core patterns that connect all of these examples? What are the principles you can start using right now to make any phrase sound more natural? This right here, this is the secret sauce. This is the heart of fluency. It really just boils down to a handful of patterns. Use contractions like it's and we're. Turn your statements into questions to get people involved. Weave in those common idioms like circle back or give me a hand. Soften your request to be more polite. Add a little personality and context. And try to use more dynamic, interesting verbs. If you can get a handle on these, you can start transforming any phrase you use.
So if you take one thing away from this explainer, let it be this. Fluency isn't about just memorizing phrases. Don't be a phrase collector. Instead, be a pattern detective. The next time you hear a native speaker say something that sounds really natural, stop and ask yourself, okay, why did they say it like that? Once you start to understand the underlying patterns, the why behind politeness or engagement or expression, that's when you unlock the ability to create natural-sounding sentences all on your own.
So, I'll leave you with a question. Which one of these advanced phrases or patterns are you going to make your own? Which one will you try out, maybe even today? Remember, the journey up that fluency ladder starts with just one small step. So go ahead, pick one, and take your own natural leap forward.